What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into episode 202. I am your host, Sleazeball. Today's episode, we are going to be diving into my 8 Dynasty stash players that you should be getting right now before the NFL draft happens, because we don't know how it's going to play out. I'm going to give you my trade offers that you should put onto these players. I'm going to give you 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends as well. So we get a variation of every position and who I like as stashes. Now, these are stashes, guys. So when I'm pulling up these stats and stuff right there, they didn't play a lot last year. So this is looking ahead with the players in front of them, with the age of the players in front of them, or the situation of the team that they have. So before we dive into it here, guys, make sure you smash that like and subscribe. All the support's appreciated. You guys have been absolutely amazing. This is the second episode of the year. I'm excited. We're diving in. I'm going to be dropping an episode daily now again. Took that little break. It was much needed, but we are back in full force. And make sure you go get these players right now. First QB and the first player I want to talk about here is going to be Joe Milton of the New England Patriots, still age 25. So currently on the trade market right now, guys. They brought in Josh Dobbs behind Drake May, who's going to be 22 years old. That's their franchise quarterback locked in. So Joe Milton is a go-get guy right now. And I'm going to start with his trade value first on this one. I would throw a maybe late second, early third here, maybe even tack on like a 2027, 2026 third, see what happens. Because if he gets traded to, say, the Steelers here, we don't know what's happening with Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, or it could be a couple other landing spots, with the trade talk about him right now. You could be getting a starting quarterback for a late second to third value, which is what you want in fantasy. These are the steals and the stashes you have to make now. Now, when you're looking at Joe Milton, right, he played 1 game last year. You get a 1-game sample size, but he beats the Buffalo Bills. He's 1-0 as a starter. He throws for 241, throws in 16 rushing, throws 2 TDs, 1 passing, 1 rushing. Averages 20 points a game right there. You got to like the rushing upside. He had 10 carries in the game he played in. Production premium minus 5.3. Doesn't have a lot of work to show for it there. QB 55 on the year. Obviously only played 1 game. So you know that as well. But completion percentage, 81.5. Passer rating, 116.2. QBR, 73.9. And he threw 6 deep ball attempts in 1 game. So he has a monster arm. He was a transfer from Michigan to Tennessee. And his senior year in Tennessee, he almost threw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns there as well, to go along with 200 yards rushing. Now, let's say the Steelers don't want to go for 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, and you get a trade with Joe Milton happening here. And all of a sudden, he has DK Metcalf, Freiermuth, George Pickens, Jalen Warren in the backfield to go along with Kenneth Gainwell. This is going to be a monster snag and a guy that you should be looking to stash right now in your dynasty teams before it is too late, because we don't know what's going to happen with the draft, and we don't know what's going to happen with the trade. And if he's a starting QB, this is insane value you can get right now. The second QB I want to talk about here is going to be Spencer Rattler, who had a very, very rough rookie campaign last year. But the Saints were shambles. They were injured across the board everywhere. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave. I mean, their offensive line was beat up. They were just absolute shambles. So he was 0-7 as a starter last year, but didn't have a lot of help. Not a lot of weapons was thrown out to the fire. So he had 1,317 passing yards, 146 rushing yards, 4 passing TDs, 5 picks, 0 rushing TDs. Finished his QB 41, 10.3 points per game, 72 points on the year. Again, didn't play that much. Well, I mean, 7-game sample should be more than 70 points, but again, it was a struggle. Production premium was under. That's a given. He's a rookie that didn't have anything there. He was minus 11.2. Completion percentage, 63.4. Not bad, not great. You want to see that up to about 68 to 70. Passer rating, 65.8. That's not that bad at all either. You want to see that in the 70s, though. QBR, 40.3. Not great there. Got to bring it up. Deep balls, he threw 32. Now, he was a transfer from Oklahoma to South Carolina, but in college, those are 2 good conferences as well, right? He had 3 seasons of 3,000-plus passing yards for Oklahoma and South Carolina at the same time. You'd love to see the SEC work as well. And he has a little rushing upside. Now you have a new head coach in town as well. That's going to bring a lot of impact with them. I really, really do like the hire that they have there. And it's going to be, Kellen Moore's offense coming from Philly, coming from the Super Bowl. It's going to be a different look here. And we're going to hope that Alvin Kamara, still at his age, is going to be able to produce for them. Kendra Miller is the backup there as well. But what you have to think about here is Derek Carr. So restructures his contract. He's 33 years old, right? But he's got a laundry list of injuries just in the past couple of years. So if you're looking at just from 2023 to now, right? He's had shoulder strain, head cranial concussion, another AC joint sprain in the shoulder, another concussion, abdomen muscle sprain pull in 2024. He broke his hand 2024 again at the end of the year. So you know that the age is old for him. You know that you could get Spencer Rattler to come in at some point. Could he be the future? Could they look to draft a quarterback now, in the draft? Possibly, right? But I really don't like this quarterback class a lot. I'll get to that when I do my QB rookie rankings here. But, I'd throw a mid-third, 2026 third, maybe tack on a 2026 fourth, whatever, late pick right here, because you're possibly getting a young quarterback that could be the franchise of this team, and that's what stashes are for. Heading over to my third dynasty stash, the first running back that I love a ton as of right now is Audric Estime. This one is going to be harder to trade for currently right now because we haven't seen the NFL draft. We don't know what they're going to do. They're going to try and take Gene T early. They have a lot of holes to fill. They're looking at Evan Ingram at tight end. If they don't land Evan Ingram, they could look at Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, something like that in the draft. So these are early prediction plays here. So when you're looking at Audric Estime, they just let Javonte Williams go to the Cowboys. I never liked Javonte Williams at all last year. If you're part of my channel or subscribe to it, you would know that. I blew him up. I don't think he's going to do anything for the Cowboys either. Now, you have Sean Payton, who drafted Audric Estime out of Notre Dame, who had 29 touchdowns in his last sophomore, junior year at Notre Dame. Senior year finished with 1,341 and 18 touchdowns, guys. 1,500 total yards. This man is a tank. Now, you get a limited, share his rookie year. It was a rotational wheel between Jaleel McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, and him last year. But if you saw down the stretch, you could see who the bigger bully running back was. So he finished with 310 yards, 76 attempts. You got to love the 4.0 average. That's about what you want as a 4.0 plus. 2 rushing TDs. Receiving work was at 27 yards. Not great there. But again, this is limited role. So finished RB68, 3.7 points per game, 48.7 points on the season. Production premium obviously down because, again, rookie, not a lot of playing time. Yards after contact, though. In his 310 rushing yards on the season, he had 186. That's over 50% after contact. That's 51st. If he gets a full workload, this guy's going to be a beast and have a ton of yards after contact. Routes ran was 11. That's 101. Snap share, again, 11.6%, all down. But you got to look at this. He barely played in the year, and he still got a lot of red zone work, 11 touches in the red zone. Now, if he gets the job here, say Denver likes to fill other holes, you're going to see him. You're going to see Jaleel McLaughlin as a 3-down back, and that is going to be very nice in a Bo Nix upcoming Denver Broncos offense. But again, when I'm looking at the trade offers for him, it's probably going to be tough right now. It's probably a more wait and see here because if the Broncos don't draft anybody, his value is going to skyrocket. If they do draft a running back, this class is loaded. They could even, get like a Judkins in round 2 or, something like that. And that would hurt his value. So this is a gamble play here that I'm willing to take for if you can get it for an early third, mid third, maybe tack on a 2026 fourth or fifth with it, see what happens. You could be getting an RB1 for a very, very cheap price right now, guys. Dynasty stash number 4, running back number 2 is going to be Trey Benson. And last year, guys, if you're part of my channel, I did not like that rookie running back class. And everyone gave me stuff about Blake Corum and Trey Benson, how they're going to overtake Kyron Williams and they're going to overtake James Conner. That was never going to happen. Now, this is the time now to buy Trey Benson. It was honestly crazy to me because I figured James Conner would miss 4 to 6 games like he does. He had a healthy year till the end last year, but now you have James Conner heading into age 30 here. So if the Cardinals, aren't in it midway through before the trade deadline, they could probably look to move James Conner to a contender, probably because injuries are going to happen. That happens in football all the time. So this is one of the great buys that I like now this year that I didn't like last year. So again, limited work here for a rookie, 291 yards, 63 rush attempts, 4.62 yards per carry. You got to like that. He had a very sluggish, slow start. Like in his first, debut, he looked sluggishly slow, and then he picked it up the game after that and looked great. 1 rush and TD, 59 receiving yards. Again, limited work, so all those numbers are down. RB 70, 3.6 points per game, 47 points on the season. Production premium is down. Wasn't out there a lot. Yards after contact, 135. Just like Audric Estime, almost half of his yards come after contact. You have to like that. Routes ran, obviously 28. It's down there. Snap share was 17.3%. That's down there as well because you're a rookie. You're out there barely, playing. And James Conner took all the workload. He was a full 3-down back workhorse, right? 3 red zone touches. Now, if you're in Dynasty right now, and you got to look at last year, where was Trey Benson drafted last year, right? Probably at the end of the first, maybe second to mid-second, around that area. Do you want to throw a 2025 third, 2026 third, 2025 second, late second? Now's the time. This guy is very, very young, up and coming, and is one of my favorite stashes this year because I do not think James Conner is going to survive this year at age 30 like he did last year. Dynasty stash number 5, wide receiver number 1 on my stash list. And man, I pumped this guy up, Javon Baker, so much last year. I scouted his tape like a madman. He had a monster college career, guys. He went from Bama to UCF. When he got to UCF, he is a jump ball go-getter monster. Also was at North Carolina for a bit here. And when you're looking at Javon Baker's situation they're in right now, right? And if you saw me talk, I don't know, again, if you're new here, I was saying that Jalen Polk was never going to be the guy. I thought that Jalen Polk from Washington got to feed off from Odunze, and the Jalen McMillan injury pumped him up way higher in the draft than he should have been. And it came to fruition. You don't hit them all, but that was definitely a hit for me on, not touching Jalen Polk. And I wanted to see Javon Baker get that chance over him, but he just didn't. This guy's still 23 years old. The Patriots still looking for wide receivers. The free agent market is still, you got Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, a lot of Cooper Kupp talk as well. Deontay Johnson still out there. I don't think the Patriots are going to do that. I think they'll maybe either trade for Ayuk or pick up one, and then they're going to build from within. So at 23 years old, he's going to be in the second year, got his feet wet the first time. But I'm telling you, from what I've watched from this guy, he is a go-getter, and you can get him for probably a late third or early fourth right now. So only had 12 yards last year, 1 reception, 4 targets on the season, wasn't out there. 202 rank, 0.2 points, 2.2 points. Production premium is down, snap share is down, target share is down, routes run. All that is low because he barely even played, right? But I beg you, if you do not know who this guy is, I beg you to go look up any highlight you want, go watch any tape on Javon Baker. And I'm telling you, this guy I thought was going to be the wide receiver 1 last year, and I hope the breakout is coming this year. Even if he gets like a 50-60% snap share, watch what this guy is going to do with it. He is an absolute route running, hand check, 1v1 demon. And man, I love to trade for this guy right now. If you can, like I said, use a third, use a fourth. You might even be able to get some people for a fifth because they don't know anything about him. So this is one of my favorite stash deals. Again, heading in here, and you got Drake May heading into a second season. They bulk up the defense in free agency. Vrabel comes in with the leadership. It's going to be a different look Patriots and a better team than last year. Dynasty stash number 6, wide receiver number 2 is going to be Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky. Now, Malachi Corley currently right now, most people, if you're a fantasy football guy, if you're new to the channel, he was really not much of a threat last year at all. But he's 22 years old, had a back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at Western Kentucky, got a couple opportunities last year, not a lot, didn't do much with it. Aaron Rodgers had his plethora of all his Packers and everybody he wanted to bring back with Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard. But now when you're looking at this depth chart, you have Justin Fields locked in as a quarterback, 2-year, $40 million contract, $30 million guaranteed. And they just said Allen Lazard can seek a trade if he wants to get out as well. So you're looking at Garrett Wilson is going to be your 1, going to get force fed. Malachi Corley will be your wide receiver 2, probably playing 80+% snap share here. And it's one of the best values you can get. You could probably get him for a 4th round, early 5th, late, maybe even a late 3rd if you want to throw it out there, if you need wide receiver depth help. Because Xavier Gibson's the return guy. He's not going to really be a wide receiver in the game a lot. And they don't really have anybody. Could they, address it in the draft? Yes. They have so many holes to fill, though. I don't think they're going to really go early for a wide receiver. So when you're looking at his stats, again, just like Javon Baker, this is another stash play because they didn't play a lot last year. So 16 yards, 3 receptions, 6 targets, 0 rushing yards, 188 rank, 0.7 average, 5.2 production premium, obviously minus because he's not out there a lot. Snap share low, target share low, routes ran 48, route participation 15.5. Now, one of my favorite things, if you watch my video before, right, was my buy low dynasty players, is Justin Fields. Malachi Corley is a field stretching wide receiver, vertical threat. Okay. Justin Fields was throwing insane amount of deep balls last year. And if Garrett Wilson's going to draw your doubles, Justin Fields going to make plays with his feet, going to create, extend the plays longer. Malachi Corley may be in for a bunch of splash plays here for the Jets this season. And one of my favorite stashes is going to be him because he's only 22 years old as well. So definitely someone to look at, definitely something to go get right now for very, very cheap on your dynasty roster. Dynasty stash number 7, heading over to the tight ends. My tight end number 1 that you should be going to target right now that I really, really love this year for a breakout is going to be Javon Sanders, who is a 20-year-old rookie last year out of Texas. Loved his tape coming out of college, put up back-to-back 600-plus yard seasons, had about, lower end zone, red zone touchdowns. He only had 7 touchdowns in the 2 years that he started at Texas, but they're stacked at wide receiver across the board. So obviously the share is going to be different because big colleges, a lot of roster depth, a lot of great wide receivers they've had at Texas as well. Now, heads into Dave Canales' system, which worried me to start last year because Dave Canales didn't really use Cade Otton, when he was at Tampa, but if you watch the situation as it unfolded, right, 20-year-old not going to get a lot of playing time. So through the first 6 weeks, right, he wasn't even out there at over a 29% snap share, right? And then you get him week 6, he starts to pop, he gets 73% snap share, and then he starts getting 10 points, 13 points, 9 points. He was starting to build a lot of chemistry with Bryce Young, and then the injury happened, which derailed him down the stretch back to the 50% snap share again. So Tommy Tremble, 1 year, we don't know contract, what's going on with him. I don't think he's going to be part of the situation anymore. So this is going to be Javon Sanders' job with an up-and-coming Bryce Young who found his legs in him last year. Now, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen will also be out there. Maybe Jalen Coker sees a little more as well. But Javon Sanders is going to own the middle. This is a big boy wide receiver, tight end, 6'4", 250. And if you look at last year, so obviously, again, when you're looking at stashes, the numbers are down. These guys aren't out there a lot. So 342 yards, 33 receptions, 43 targets, 1 touchdown, ranked at tight end 36, 4.6 points per game, 73.2 total points. But look at his production premium compared to the other ones. Little playing time, see what happens. Still minus 4.9. You want to see it in the positive, but he's getting there. Snap share 54%, target share 9%, routes ran 285, route participation 53.4%. So see, all these numbers are about mid-tiered 50%. Let's say, we're heading into year 2 right now. Here comes the Javon Sanders full tight end 1 workload. These numbers are going to boost, guys. And if you need a tight end, you can probably get him for a mid-third, maybe tack on a 5th or a 2026 5th, 2027 5th, because not a lot of people are going to be looking to start Javon Sanders. And I think he's going to be in for a big, big year this year in one of my favorite tight end stashes. Last but not least, Dynasty stash number 8, tight end number 2, Ben Sinnott. This guy, Ben Sinnott, was one of my absolute favorite tight ends coming out of Kansas State last year. Obviously, I did not think Zach Ertz at age 33 was going to stay healthy the whole time, and he ends up being a top tight end 7 on the year. And they re-signed Zach Ertz again. So we're going to be waiting for the Ben Sinnott breakout again. But he's still only 22 years old. This buy is not going to be probably as cheap as the other ones because if they're smart at fantasy football, they know that Zach Ertz does have an injury history and he's old. So, and they bring in Debo as well. So when you're looking at it, you're like, well, what am I going to pay for Ben Sinnott here? Last year, he was probably an early 3rd pick, maybe mid to late 2nd if anybody knew about his talent. And you can probably get him right now for an early 3rd, tack on a 4th or a 5th, 26, 27, or I'd even be willing to go mid-3rd, tack on a 5th if I need, because you're going to have Jaden Daniels, who is an absolute monster, Terry McLaurin, who's aging at 30, Debo's heading into age 30. You don't know how long those wide receivers are going to be there. This could be your tight end for 5 to 6 years down the stretch here, and he's good, guys. So again, limited workload here at 28. If you actually, let's go back and look at his college here. So in college at Kansas State, he had 676 yards junior year, 447 sophomore year, and he popped in 10 touchdowns in those 2 years. So if you look at Javon Sanders, that's more than him. And it's like, how do I explain it here? Where I want to say he's going to be explosion. Like, look at his RAS, look at all his combine stuff. This guy is an athletic freak, man. He got His one opportunity came, and he got a touchdown on that big explosive play last year. If you remember it, I remember it fully because I was pumping Big Ben Sinnott all year, and it was just a slow year for him. So when you're looking at his stats here, he only had 28 yards. He only had 5 receptions, but he found the end zone again on that big long play. The rest of his plays were short across the middle. 0 rushing yards, obviously. Tight end rank was 0.8 points per game, 13.8 on the season. Not great there, but look at the production premium. He's a positive production premium player. That shows you right there. This is my favorite stat that I like. And every single fantasy football player. If you don't know what this is, you can look up production premium. It's tacking on the catches to your yards, touchdowns, and everything you get. And it's how I like calculate how I want to trade for players that I think are, lesser. So his snap share, obviously 26%, low. Target share 1%, very low. Routes ran, very low. Route participation, all very low. Because you have Zach Ertz out there again. You're probably going to get one more year of Zach Ertz, but you could also have an injury to Zach Ertz this year. So I cannot emphasize enough, go get this 22-year-old tight end Ben Sinnott right now if you can. And you can get him for cheap, and it's a great buy heading into the future here. Thanks for rocking with me today, guys. That is the end of the episode. That is my 8 dynasty stashes, 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. If you guys have any questions about or other dynasty stashes you think that are possible that you think you should pick up, drop them in the comments as always. If you have any trade offers, it never has to pertain to this video. If you have any questions ever with fantasy football, always drop them in there, guys. Before we head out, make sure you smash that like and subscribe. All the support's appreciated. You guys have been absolutely amazing. The start of last year, we are on to year 2. I cannot wait to see where we go from here. You guys' support has been absolutely amazing. My video tomorrow, I haven't decided yet. I might dive into my QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, rookie rankings here coming up this week. I've probably watched about 50 plus hours scouting tape here on all of them. So I have tons of information to unload, but I have the family in town here till Saturday. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm going to try to get to all that, guys. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next one, man. Sleazebomb out.